Hi there, David here again. And now for this video, it's time for our ever popular overview of the course outline. I've asked you in the announcements to download the course outline and have it in front of you as you were going through this overview. And it will just be an overview and hopefully just maybe 10, 15 minutes to go through what is here. You've got my contact information at the very front and a basic overview of the course. Key thing here is to appreciate that this fall, all of these courses at CBU and all of mine, including this one, of course, are being done completely online. So get used to the Moodle site. You're familiar with Moodle and everything, this entire course. Think of the Moodle site for this course as the course classroom. And for you to be coming in every week, a couple of times a week, spending about 2.5, 3 hours on the Moodle site going through materials. The other thing to appreciate is that, of course, this course is online and it is asynchronous. You're not going to be online the same time I am online, like right now, right? I've decided to have the course asynchronous because to me it's easier for you. That I'm concerned that we have a lot of students in living in different time zones, even in different countries. So it would be very, very awkward to have everybody having to be online at the exact same time. And also, I fully appreciate that a lot of people don't necessarily may not have the best of high-speed internet access, depending on where you're living and the type of computers that you have, the type of online access and high-speed connectivity that people have. So I don't want to get into a system where everything's going to be online and that there's tons and tons and tons of online stuff happening that may slow down a system, slow down a computer, that some people, their computers just crash and they can't take part of all of the stuff going on. So I've opted for the asynchronous system where so much of everything that's going to be happening, you'll be logging in and going to the Moodle site and accessing tons and tons and tons of materials, including the videos like this and PowerPoint presentations with my voiceover on the Moodle site. Now, for those of you who have taken my courses before, regular inline courses, you'll notice some differences, of course, between what you've seen in the past and what we are doing now. See on page 2 of the outline, one of the big differences is there will be no term test in this course. I've thought it would be very difficult to supervise and oversee an online term test. So I simply avoided that. I simply decided to avoid that altogether. So no term test. I hear everybody going, yeah, right now. There's no term test. Participation would be awkward in a fully, completely online asynchronous system. So what I've opted, as you'll see on page 2, the participation mark will be based on you folks doing 5, count them 5, personal, reflective, 2 to 3 page journal-like letters to me. I call the assignment letters to the prof. And I'll be putting out another video talking in full detail about the participation grade and the letters to the prof exercise. But I'll be calling for 5 short 2 to 3 page letters from you to me, just talking about stuff going on in the course and the issues happening in the course and stuff we're dealing with in the course. So that'll be a lot of fun. Requires a bit of writing on your part, but that's participation. That's class participation for this type of system. There will also be a standard research paper due towards the end of the term. classic standard research paper. You go and get the topics, you pick one, and you go and you do your research on that. There'll be a traditional final, well, I guess a non-traditional final exam, in that the final exam, that there will be a final exam in the course, and it will be a do-at-home exam. You'll have about 48 hours to get it done and then submit it back to me, likely by email or via the Moodle site, but I'll let you know about the details of that in due course. So a lot of reading, a lot of writing, again, letters to the prof, standard research essay, a final exam. Week by week, I'll be posting loads of materials, PowerPoint presentations with my voiceover. So you'll be able to look at the PowerPoint slides, hear me talking about the slides, and I'll be talking about the slides. I'll try to be, I'll be as conversational as I can be, and I'll be posing all sorts of questions, looking at this, looking at that, different ways to think about the issues that we're looking at. I will have up to 5+ office hours a week. Again, office hours. I'm sitting in my office here at home. But people have questions. You could email me. You've got my email. You've got my email address. You could email me. If there's something in the corner, you've got a question, you want to ask me something, email me. I email you back. If it's something really I think is really interesting, I could put a announcement on the Moodle site about something, an issue that we've been talking about. So take a look at the outline and have a sense of what's coming. You've got course aims. You've got course aims, learning objectives, so for the course requirements, seminar participation will be worth 25% of the course. That will be divided 5 letters to the prof, each one of those worth 5%. So 5 times 5 is 25. And then a research paper worth 40%, and the final exam worth 35%. So readings, course, class textbooks, and calling for 4. There are 4 that you want to get. You see the list here. Michael Bliss, Right Honorable Man, James McGregor Burns, Transforming Leadership, J. Thomas Wren, The Leader's Companion, Gary Wills, Certain Trumpets. All of these can be ordered online. I've sent nothing into the CBU bookstore. Far easier for you and cheaper for you to simply order these books online. You can get them used. No problem, get them used. Just make sure you get the volumes indicated. For Bliss for 1994, McGregor Burns 2003, Thomas Wren 1995, Gary Wills, Certain Trumpets 1994. You could get these used at tons and tons of sites. Just Google, go on online, Google the title, Google the title, Google the author. You'll find loads and loads of hits, often with used booksellers, book sites. Order the books online. Sometimes you could get them for maybe less than $10 used. Get the 4. We do use the 4 quite extensively all through the course, especially Michael Bliss and all the Canadian stuff. So those are the texts. There's a lot of reading in the class, so get used to it and get the texts. You can't do well in the course without the texts. There's material on plagiarism. Again, I'll have more to say about that as I'm getting the essay assignments out to people. So the class schedule, week by week. So you see the first week is a basic introduction to the course, and I'll have a PowerPoint presentation on this, taking a look at leaders, leadership, what we think about leaders, who are some of the famous leaders of the past, who were some of the great leaders of the past, who were some of the not so great, terrible leaders, the difference between great leadership, evil leadership, and significant leadership, and look at mediocre leadership. Week 2, we'll take a look at some leadership theory coming from Burns and Wren. Again, PowerPoint slides on that. Week 3, we'll be taking a look at Machiavelli and Machiavelli's concepts of leadership. This is one book that I'm asking you to get. Just get on. You could get it free online. It's You just Google Machiavelli the Prince, and you'll find the book is available for free. The copyright is long gone out on that one. And week 4, we'll spend some time taking a look at the one of the great issues of leadership of the 20th century, Harry Truman's decision to drop the atomic bombs on Japan in August of 1945. And actions that many cases to many people helped lead to the end of the Second World War. But at the same time, to many others, a decision that was tantamount to a war crime. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll take a look at how Machiavelli would likely think about that decision by Harry Truman. Week 5, we'll take a look at the American presidency historically. We'll take a look at the leadership of some of the great American presidents, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And we'll take a look at some of the more recent presidents, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and of course, everybody's favorite, Donald Trump, and maybe Joe Biden. By then we'll be coming. This will be October. We'll be looking ahead to the American election in November, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that as it happens too. Week 6 into mid-October, we'll start transitioning and looking at Canadian prime ministers, and we'll have a fair bit of time on that over the second half of the course. So we'll take a look again. PowerPoint slides. We'll be looking at John A. Macdonald, the first Canadian Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald. If we have a bit of time, we'll take a look at Wilfrid Laurier, the first French Canadian Prime Minister. Week 7, we'll take a look at Mackenzie King. We'll spend about a week and a half on Mackenzie King, to Michael Bliss, the greatest of the Canadian prime ministers, but somebody now who most Canadians have vaguely heard of him. Most young Canadians have never heard of Mackenzie King, but we'll take a look at him. He very much helped to cast the Liberal Party of Canada as what many say is the natural governing party of Canada throughout most of the 20th century and into the 21st century. So Mackenzie King is a major figure. We move on then, we'll take a look at Pierre Trudeau, his life and times. We'll take a look at Brian Mulroney. Week 9, we'll be looking at Chrétien, Stephen Harper, and Justin Trudeau, son of Pierre. Week 10, we'll take a look at feminist concepts of leadership. It will not be, many of you will note that all the major figures that we've been talking about in the past have been men. And that's because most of these leaders in the past have been men. But we will spend time taking a look at the feminist concepts of leadership, the feminist critique of male leadership, and what feminist leadership has to offer. And some of the great current leaders of this world are female. Certainly some of the current leaders who have been instrumental in helping guide their countries through COVID-19 have not been the likes of Donald Trump or Boris Johnson in Britain, but Angela Merkel in Germany and the amazing Jacinda Ardern, to me, the greatest prime minister there is in the world today, is sadly not in Canada, not in Britain, not in Australia, not in India, but New Zealand. We'll take week 11, we'll take a look at creative leadership, and we'll finish off week 12, the end of the course, looking at leadership and whether there's a crisis, again, whether there's a crisis in leadership, and what do we think about leadership, and how do we reinvent leadership. So that's where we're going. So take a look at this, get used to the Moodle site. Know that every week I'll be posting posting all sorts of PowerPoint slides with my voiceover commentary. Get used to shooting me emails about things, and we will have a very great time. So the next video will be on the participation exercise, the letters to the prof. Okay. In the meantime, you take care, and I'll see you here again at some point soon.